Hey there folks, welcome to Spectrum Pulse. We talk about music, movies, art, and culture. And now time for our third list, the top 50 songs of 2014. And now this list, by far one of the hardest ones to make. This year I discussed 210 albums, and from there I had just under 700 songs I considered eligible for this list. From there, the task of narrowing it down and ranking them was excruciating, because I wanted to make sure this list was of the best of the best. And even with that, I had to make some really painful cuts. And once again, keep in mind, these are not the hits. We've got singles and deep cuts here, from artists who are defiantly mainstream to those lodged deep in the underground that you might never have heard of. And one more thing, for a song to land on this list, it had to have been released from an album that I reviewed this year. Just a single doesn't cut it. But on a contrary note, if the single dropped last year or even the year before and the album was only released now, well, that qualifies in my books. But you know what? Enough wasting time. Let's get this started.
My friends are superheroes. None of us have very much money though. They can fly, run fast, read Portuguese. None of us have very much money though.
There were a lot of records that viciously criticized hip-hop and its culture this year, and Open Mike Eagle's dark comedy was one of the best. And yet, Very Much Money, Ice King Dream was the song that really stuck out to me the most. A gorgeous, shimmering, and melodic song with soft elements of glitchy percussion and a very thick beat beneath it, but you know what? It's the lyrics that stand out the most. A hook that highlights the varied talents and intellect of Open Mike Eagle's friends, and yet how society just doesn't value them because they don't have any money. And yet it's shrouded in dense references through extended symbolism tied to Adventure Time's Ice King, and not just feels cohesive, but heartbreaking in its exploration of ego, anchored by Open Mike Eagle's downbeat yet very powerful delivery. It's complex to be sure, the sort of rap song that demands rap genius, but it's the sort of hip-hop song that definitely earns that complexity. Damn good song. From a song that's exceptionally cerebral, we go to a track that's got a much more bass appeal. And as such, it's charting really highly right now on the Billboard Hot 100, go figure. And yet, Ariana Grande has never sounded more mature and poised until now. Placing her up against The Weeknd's highly sexualized lyrics proves to be a shockingly potent balance, which really is the centerpiece of this song. Coupled with a thick, groove-heavy beat, mid-treble keys, a rich reverb-touched soundscape, and lyrics that take the frustration of sexual dissatisfaction in the musical foreplay that ends up turning out as hot as all hell. It was easily the best song off my everything. If this is a sign where Ariana Grande wants to take her music going forward, well, shit, I'm on board.
By the time I get back, will it be all gone? Well, is everything gone? Well, by the time I get back, it'll be all gone. Lord, everything's gone.
Lydia Loveless brought a lot of intensity to her follow-up album Somewhere Else. Most of it was angry as hell, but Everything's Gone opts for something a lot more stripped back, yet no less racked by real pain. A song that begins with Lydia leaving home for her dreams and finding an even more turbulent life on the road. And when she comes home, she finds that home has vanished behind her simply because of time. And even if she tries to recreate it or buy it back, it's just not going to be the same. And it's Lydia's delivery on the edge of tears that really sells this song. Sure, the thick acoustic strumming, the steel and electric guitars, they all definitely help, but Lydia's rage and grief is what gives this song its real gut punch, the sheer hopelessness of never really recreating that old home. One of the most powerful and overlooked country songs this year, and yet deserving so much of this slot. Great work. This song really caught me by surprise, mostly because it's not one that originally leaped out at me. But after several listens, I knew it had to be on this list. If only because on the instrumentation and production, the strings, the flutes, the thick distorted keyboards, the horns, that final patter of the beat on the outro, and the sheer gorgeous swell of that crescendo. It's a defiant declaration of love that Tom Krell's thin, quivering delivery, balancing falsetto in his lower range that remains intimate all the way across, with lyrics that don't exactly evoke a lot of thought, but they don't need to either. A song that hits straight for the gut and definitely deserves a slot here. Great work.
No family is safe when I sashay.
In response response to Eminem's usual brand of crass commentary on the Shady Cypher, Mike Hadrius threatened to stare straight into Eminem's eyes to crush him down, and now in promotion of his new tour, is selling t-shirts with Slim Shady and drag. Now, I can make the argument that Perfume Genius is kind of playing into Eminem's brand of trolling, but he sure as hell is not taking this lightly, and his album Too Bright, and especially the song Queen, seems specifically designed to intimidate homophobes or any that would look down upon his sexuality or how he presents it. And Queen is a stunning gut punch, a sizzling guitar line, gorgeous shimmering keyboards, operatic backing vocals, crisp drumming, and lyrics that create this haggard, brittle picture of homosexuality, a caricature of drag or transgender individuals that some would brand as wretched or terrifying and just as provocative, and yet the song is triumphant and potent, reclaiming and glorifying that image in all of its majesty. Where Slim Shady might represent the worst of his kind, Perfume Genius becomes the mirror before shattering his opposite.
Now I'm caught up in a foregone conclusion. Now I stumble from another delusion.
Taylor Swift might have ruled the charts this year, but if I'm going to take synthpop that feels fresh and shockingly raw, Frankmusik is the unsung champion of 2014. Taking a powerfully melodic approach in a year ruled by percussion and reverb, his maximalist aesthetic finds a point of windswept balance on conclusions, the tortured ending to the internal crises that rocked his album by Nicole, and I could go on and on about how he captures every note of emotion in that surging piano line that comes in complicated breakups in his lyrics, but none of it would get there without one of the best vocal performances of his career. The sort of grand passion that tears at his vocal cords, that shows talent and range beyond so many this year, and earns all of that drama too. In a year where pop music was far too poised, refined, and composed for my personal taste, Frankmusik brought something that was raw, scorching, and real, and the world was better for it.
Spitting our guts from their gears, draining our spleen over years. Find myself with crossed fingers in the rubble there.
Graphic, gory, and yet perfectly human, Severed Cross Fingers are the moment where St. Vincent came back to earth and brought one of the most potent anthems of the year. On record revolting against mechanical conformity and dehumanization, she found a primal moment of hope outside the rubble, with a gentle melody, blocks of fuzzy distortion, bells, cavernous drums, and St. Vincent's exhausted delivery on one of the best crescendos on the entire album. She managed to infuse the song with a message of real hope that feels kind of visceral but yet strangely comforting. After an album of plenty of bizarre alien moments, she needed a song like Severed Cross Fingers to ground all of the grand theatricality, and it ended up being one of the best songs of the year. Great work.
My little black wedding dress, my little black wedding dress.
The unexpected bonus track with one of the rougher gut punches in pop country this year, Lucy Hale takes the archetypal country wedding song with organ, steel guitar, and even accordion with some fantastically subtle piano flourishes, and then she guts it. She desperately yearns for that moment at the altar, but is instead stuck alone, hunting for something more, taking the elegance and exposing something much darker beneath it all. The fantasy of being that bride that everyone stares at and adores, except this time the color's inverted, and while the dress does fit her perfectly, it's a very different image that everybody's looking at. Lucy Hale sells all that loneliness with heartbreaking power, and proves that she was the replacement for Taylor Swift that we all needed, and we are so much better for her arrival.
Yeah, I'm trying, but it don't change. Gone, I won't bring her back. She's moved on, and I'm stuck with that.
Okay, Jason Aldean's album really surprised me with how much it worked, but this song blew me out of the water. A steel guitar and organ-soaked country rock ballad that might be one of the most melodic songs that he's ever done. It shows a maturity and vulnerability and heartbreak that the typically hard-edged and stoic Jason Aldean will never show. And it's really the lyrics here that stand out the most. The frustration between curdled anger and the weary resolve that she's moved on and he's stuck with that and he needs to move on as well is one of the few glimpses into real emotion from the antisocial, lone wolf country star. And the fact that he sells it as well as he does over a defiantly simple melodic progression is so powerful. He might not have completely won me over, but I gotta say this song from Jason Aldean is a definite step in the right direction.
And I don't mind you disappearing, 'cause I know you can be found. Maybe living on the dark side of the street.
In this song, Adam Granducio becomes a memory. The breakup, loneliness, and doubt of the album fades, leaving a scene of security and comfort that's a moment of desperately needed relief, coming to grips with where he is, and allowing him to fade gracefully into that girl's past. And from the wet sheen, the guitar melody, precisely on point drumming, echoing synthline, and Bob Dylan-esque vocals, The War on Drugs really crafted something special here. But really, this song is on the list for the acoustic moment in the interlude. You'll know it when you hear it. Subtle, simple, and yet instantly memorable as one of the most powerful moments on the album. Hell, one of the most powerful instrumental moments you will hear this year. It is a moment of well-earned closure, and the fade out over hazy waves of piano, horns, and a few lingering strums makes In Reverse damn close to perfect. Beautiful song.
She don't need you for shit, but your dick and your veins and your guts and your body. Every man sees she thick and they wish they could bang when she stressed. She got nails did, hair did, body right, teeth white, knife sharp, getting body. If you a bad bitch, let them know you ain't out for the dough, you want.
If this song isn't eventually landing on a gory horror movie soundtrack yet, it should be. A greasy, dripping synth with fragments of fuzz, a thick pummeling beat with chainsaws whirring in the background, the echoing lo-fi sample over the chorus, and lyrics that take traditionally horrorcore imagery and then flips it, giving the knife to a female serial killer who uses sexuality, clinical precision, and a meticulously detailed arsenal of tools to hunt down her prey. It's industrial noise rap, and with clipping's gleeful subversion, it eggs on the pseudo-gothic sociopath who's got no problem ripping the clueless men who drool over ass to wet, glistening chunks. And yeah, sure, it's graphic as hell, but if this is hip-hop taking more steps towards the darker side of industrial music, hell, I'll definitely take it.
If you wait around, I'll make you fall for me. I promise you I will.
You know, it seems kind of bizarre that one of the most striking moments in Sturgill Simpson's experimental and incredible metamodern sounds in country music, it's a cover, and it's an unlikely one at that, of the hit from 1988 new wave group When in Rome, and yet Sturgill Simpson rebuilds the song into a richly psychedelic track, the reverb letting every guitar tone and harmony swell across the song, especially in the bridge, and his delivery is damn near perfect, displaying quiet, desperate resolve that eventually transforms into this richly textured and impassioned plea that recalls Waylon Jennings at his absolute best. It's not the only Sturgill Simpson song to make this list, or the strangest that he's put out this year, but definitely deserves the regard all the same.
And when you're tired and afraid, I will hold you, build you up just to tear you apart.
When Bones begins in the self-titled debut of Casualties of Cool, the narrator stranded alone with only fragments of music on a sentient planet looking to trap him in the deep, dark, alone depths of space. And Bones is the song where the lurking specter of his fear makes itself known. And while I could go on for hours about Shea Amy Dorval's icy delivery, the metallic click and textured strums that signify time slipping away as the trap closes its jaws, the mournful strings in the piano, and the lyrics that assert how just implacable resistance is to that imparalyzing fear might be the reason this song landed on this list. The production. Windswept and huge, smooth and yet textured and subtle. This is the sort of creeping and unsettling song you don't see enough in country music. Surrendering to the darkness has never sounded this beautiful or incredibly terrifying. With horns that feel pulled out of a spaghetti western, an echoing guitar line straight out of a dreary noir, and a synth-textured beat, and vocal production straight from the eerier side from modern R&B, Jhené Aiko made a song that was simultaneously enticing and yet very chilling. After an album full of songs seeing her retrace the same steps in a breakup, calling to mind the eternal sunshine of the spotless mind motif that runs throughout the entire record, Brave is a step into something new, a challenge for a partner to rise if he dares stay with her, and while she hopes he might make it out alive, there's no guarantee. It's the moment that breaks the cycle, draped in old school glamour with a perfect framing, and Jhené Aiko brings some of her most famous poise and presence. Sold Out was one of the most overlooked R&B albums that came out this year, and the fact this song makes this list shows exactly why so many people have missed out.
Every time I take a look inside that old fabled book, I'm blinded and reminded of the pain caused by some old man in the sky.
The lead-off single for Sturgill Simpson's stellar sophomore record, it was a song that brooked a fair bit of controversy thanks to its religious iconography and its possible glorification of marijuana for its usage as a mind-expanding drug. But Sturgill Simpson's going a lot deeper than that, showing his personal disillusionment with religion and only hunting for his brand of inner peace, all the while that promoting that deeper connection of love. And yet, for all the deeper meaning and discussion tends over to skip over the fact of the song being goddamn incredible. Exceptional guitar texture, rich tones, fantastic songwriting, rich layers of shimmering reverb as Cyril Simpson's voice tumbles through space. It's a song drenched in the rich history of psychedelic country, from themes to its sound, and it's a damn great song to boot. Great work.
Well, the DJ arms the halls, and the boys they never call, and I guess we're all the same after all. Nervous girl.
Okay, look, I can already see some of the criticisms for this song. Yeah, it leans close to the Taylor Swift template of catering to a teenage audience. It touches on some insecurities that Lucy Hale probably wouldn't have to the same degree as an actress and professional singer, and that can kind of undercut the populism that it's going for. But there's a difference here between Nervous Girls and, say, 15 by Taylor Swift, and it's in the framing and the detail. Lucy Hale never places herself above or never presumes to speak from any wisdom. She describes herself as tragically confused, and flat out admits her own flaws to match the real pain of the stories that she sketches in just a few words and have so much detail. And the touch in the final chorus where she questions whether all her and all those girls' insecurities based upon impressing some guy or society at large are worth it in the end lends the song a real maturity that you never expect. You know, plenty of acoustic texture, steel guitar, and a very strong melody to anchor Lucy Hale's surprisingly expressive vocals. It shows that she can play to Taylor Swift's old audience and actually do it better. Okay, by all accounts, a song like this should not work. A song reportedly inspired by will.i.am and then interpolated from a melody originally composed by Dead or Alive, adapted into a high-energy, extreme metal song, and yet somehow, it just works. A blend of drums and beats with a hint of distortion, a rich tapestry of gleaming synths for background texture, all set against a surprisingly lightweight groove that kicks up its intensity with every scream from Devin Townsend. Hell, even the lyrics work, tackling the world's most sacred cow, what comes after death, with a potent rebuttal. Who gives a shit? If you believe it'll work for you, and Devin Townsend has no problem slam dancing right into the afterlife. Silent Militia isn't exactly a song that evokes a lot of thought or demands it, but with grooves this good, once again, who cares?
Call me on your way home. You swear she was a knockout, crawling through the window.
Now that's more like it. I remember being distinctly disappointed by the R. Kelly's third album for its lack of real sizzling power and complicated emotions, and yet this deep cut delivered both in spades. The story of two old friends just living together in order to get over breakups that cut them both deeply. At the end of the day, it's a song about the healing power of friendship. But when filtered through the brittle yet firm bass line, the layered riffs, and the richer piano melodies, it gains a surprising amount of real power, blending masculine textures and bravado with detailed songwriting and some real vulnerability. It's rare you get that many songs that speak about male friendship in rock music that take chances like this one. And you know what? It really stuck with me. Great work, R. Kells. I want to see more of this.
Girl, I'm sitting here wondering what it is that we've done. Baby, who am I to be that other guy?
Okay, look, this song wouldn't work from the majority of other pop singers. Mostly because, in addition to raw sincerity and an incredible range, Jesse McCartney's a good guy, in the vein of old school honor and chivalry. Racked with real guilt about potentially being the guy the girl is cheating with to get over a partner, he challenges her to make a choice, and not explicitly choose him either. Sure, he'd definitely prefer it, but he knows it's ultimately her choice and she needs to be the one to make it. After all, he's been cheated on himself. He knows how that feels, and he won't be complicit in hurting somebody else. The song's sheer moral fiber, backed against a pretty damn potent piano and strings combination and balanced against the sheer aching power of Jesse McCartney's voice, makes the song something special in a year of a lot of piano ballads. The world could use a lot more guys who cared like Jesse McCartney, and a lot more pop stars like him too.
As time goes by, I hide the truth. Cannot stand
Okay, you don't need to tell me that Epica overreached on their most recent album, trying to write a record about quantifying unknowable truths beyond the human mind, and The Second Stone is no exception, trying to understand the complicated streams and theory of time itself and feeling one's mind unravel trying to comprehend it. But for all the theoretical musing, that doesn't get away from being a pretty damn kick-ass symphonic metal song. Thick, chunky grooves, kinetic drumming that knows how to let the incredible swell of the strings on the chorus speak for themselves, gorgeous symphonic backing vocals, growl vocals that bounce off of Simone Simon's gorgeous singing, and a short but brutally effective guitar solo that proves that Epica is more than just an overblown symphonic metal act. There aren't many songs on this list that I'd quantify as epic, but The Second Stone definitely fits the bill.
I will stray into the sky. Hey, people live here.
Granted, Epica aren't the only ones tackling some unknowable truths, and if anything, Rise Against acoustic ballad is even more powerful. And while the guitars and strings have a lot of rich texture, it's the songwriting that's the star of this album. In this song, Illrath looks out at the increasingly desolate state of his country, from religious intolerance to global warming spurring worse and worse storms to the worshipping of the gun, all of which leads to thicker and thicker walls of isolation and a death of community. And while on some level he revels in the raw chaos that comes as the walls are torn down, he's also far too aware of the cost, and thus he turns to the heavens and howls to God how there are indeed innocents left here below, and if God really cared, he'd do something. And while there's anger here, sure, there's more desperation and fear and grief mingled together, a plea for something, anything to change. And looking out over the past year, you can start to believe where he's coming from. Believe me, I did not expect to include a Rise Against song on this list, but you know what? It was worth it.
Baby, it's you. I remember when I hear that song, singing out the chorus till your voice was gone. It's you. I remember every time I hear that song.
You know, I keep saying this, but this song shouldn't work as well as it does. And you know what I said back when I reviewed the album? That it probably would have been better if Lucy Hale had gotten, well, Scotty McCreery or something instead of Joel Nichols. But god damn it doesn't make Red Dress any less fantastic of a song. A wistful song about two long-departed lovers who have long lost contact with each other and only have memories. Lucy Hale and Joe Nichols sell the song with a ton of passion. And while there is some grief here, the tone of the song is more upbeat with the crystal clear guitar tones and deceptively simple hook. And really, it's the bridge is what seals the deal for me. The bells, the surging strings, and the surprisingly dense drum progression. It might be lightweight pop country, but with this song, Lucy Hale and Joe Nichols show exactly how to do it right.
This is just so unlike us. Cut back to horizontalisms. If we could win just one small touch. Contact versus miscommunications.
Yeah, I know, the single was released last year, but this album dropped this year, and this song is heartbreakingly beautiful, or beautifully heartbreaking, or both. Both Imogen Heap and Deadmau5 are great producers in their own right, and they lend this sparse pop to the beat a fantastic organic depth that the rich piano melody can then fill. And yet, Imogen Heap makes such a sparse song have layers of emotion, frustration, sadness, and an ever-encroaching feeling of emptiness as she tries to connect with a long-distance partner through technology to maintain that spark, and yet she can feel it slipping away without any real face-to-face contact. And the painful thing about this song is the detail. How easy it is to get swept away in minutia and details and your own little problems to forget those little gestures like telling a partner that you love them. This modern love, indeed.
That's stuck in a fist and gun position. We run a brand where destruction's the #1 commitment. It's all a joke between mom contractions and coffin fitted, so we disappear in the smoke like we're fucking magicians.
Okay, a list of great songs from 2014 would not be complete without at least one song from Killer Mike and LP and Run the Jewels, and this was one of the best. An ominous lumpy beat set against menacing tapping percussion, Killer Mike and LP trade verse after verse of bravado full of contempt for an established system that uses and exploits others, with bars overloaded with surprisingly intricate references and wordplay and still plenty of brutal punchlines. And for as much menace as this song contains, Killer Mike tells Satan to wait for his turn when he pugnaciously pacing at the gates of hell. The feel of this song is freedom. The duo is free of obligations, free agents in a world of actors on all fours. And it comes to a world that needs to wake the hell up. And according to Killer Mike, a fist to your face is fucking Folgers. Okay, as dubstep has mostly faded from the public eye, Lindsey Stirling's second album found her exploring more territory with her fusion of electronica and classical violin, and with her explosive country rock track Roundtable Rival, she added grit to her violin, cacophonous percussion that rumbles across the mix, and guitars that could snarl a harmony against her violin's nervous squeal. The melody isn't as skittish or as jagged as Lindsey normally creates, but it fits together with the gargantuan, stone-crushing grooves, the thick wall of sizzling fuzz, and the massive crescendos. No instrumental track created this sort of explosive, monstrous power while still maintaining a strikingly memorable melody, and it opens a whole new set of doors to where Lindsey could take her sound towards more country, rock, or even metal. Dear God, I hope so, because she's got a knack for it, and this track rocks.